welcome everybody. I'm Erin Rowland. I'm with the Language Director here with Surfrider Foundation. I'm our chapter vice chair, and we've got some other core volunteers on the phone with us as well, and our presenter, Kai, will be speaking. He's also our Ocean Friendly Gardens coordinator. So why don't I switch over to share my screen, so just 1 second. Oops. Let me get this, and then where did there we go. All right, can everyone see my screen right now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. All right, well, thank you and welcome. This is our first kind of chapter social that we've had since really the lockdown started back in March, and it's our first attempt at having a virtual meeting. So we're excited to have the folks join us on the call today. This will be a really interactive session. Feel free as we're presenting, if you have questions, to let us know. And Kai is really kind of the star of the show, talking about our Ocean Friendly Gardens program. But I'll just begin with a little bit of introductions and overview. So as I mentioned, my name is Erin Rowland. I'm the vice chair of the Long Beach chapter. We also have Emiko on the call with us today. She is our chapter treasurer and is a long-term volunteer with the chapter. We have Kai, who is our Ocean Friendly Gardens coordinator. We have Bill Hickman joining us from headquarters. So he works for Surfrider at the national levels of the organization. And then we've got some other key volunteers on the call today. And we've got some new folks joining us as well. So we're excited to have everyone here. I'll give a little bit of updates about our local chapter, and then we'll have Bill talk a little bit about some program updates from kind of the national headquarters perspective. And then we'll kind of throw the meeting over to Kai to talk about Ocean Friendly Gardens. So for those folks who are not familiar with the Surfrider Foundation, the Surfrider Foundation is dedicated to the protection and enjoyment of the world's oceans, waves, beaches for all people through a powerful grassroots activist network. The Surfrider Foundation here in the US has several regions. Most of them are coastal. We have over 80 chapters here in the US, and we have over 90 youth clubs. So youth clubs often are high school clubs or college campuses as well, who are doing projects, often water quality monitoring, plastics solutions, or garden types of projects in their local area. Sometimes they have connections with a local chapter. We've had some high school clubs here in the Long Beach area, and some clubs are able to kind of function independently without having a local chapter to connect with. And not only are we a national organization, but we do have presence across the globe with smaller chapters and kind of smaller chapters, not smaller, but other chapters in other parts of the country, because as we know, the ocean is everywhere. So having that broader network is a pretty incredible part of our organization. We're in over 20 countries, and the Surfrider Foundation was established in 1984. So here in the Long Beach chapter, we have a couple of core things that we focus on. Kai will present mostly today on our Ocean Friendly Gardens program, but prior to COVID, we had been working to really launch a similar Ocean Friendly Restaurants program that is also a national program through Surfrider, where you work one-on-one with restaurants to really reduce their use of single-use plastics. Historically, we have hosted 3 beach cleanups a month. That was also pre-COVID, but in the world we're in today, the main focus on our beach cleanups is really solo beach cleanups. We don't have any sort of approval to have large group gatherings. We don't want to put anyone's health and safety at risk, but we know our beaches are open, and we know that there is a lot of litter and trash on their beaches, and everyone can spend a few minutes if they're at the beach picking up litter if that's something they want to do. In addition, the chapters historically been very focused on the Long Beach breakwater and identifying ways to safely reconfigure the breakwater so that we can improve the overall ocean and water quality here in Long Beach. So at this point, as I mentioned, we're not having, or not that I mentioned, but we're not having any together events, in-person events due to COVID. We do hope that when it's safe, we're able to relaunch those events in whatever capacity is safe. but there are other ways to learn more about our organization. That's through our newsletter, and also by becoming a member, and that information is on our website. We also are trying to host more kind of virtual events, and we'll be continuing to post those online and through our social media and website pages. We're also on social media on Facebook and Instagram. And then there's core volunteers and folks on the executive committee on the call tonight. So if you have more interest in the future of being more involved, we're definitely available for that. And that's kind of big picture what I've got. So I can stop sharing my screen, and Bill, you can kind of take over.
Sure thing. That was great, Erin. Thank you very much. And let's see, let me get mine going here. And just to build on what you were talking about a little bit, this slide shows the 5 initiatives to support Surfrider's mission. So basically every campaign or program that we take on needs to fall in one of these 5 buckets, which is beach access, clean water, coastal preservation, ocean protection, and plastic pollution. So our marketing theme for this year and last year, probably next year as well, is clean water and healthy beaches. That kind of just distills Surfrider's mission into 5 easily digestible words. And roughly the first half of the year deals with clean water. There's World Water Day, some events around Earth Day. And the second half of the year focuses on healthy beaches. Which is a lot to do with plastic pollution, beach cleanups, with Coastal Cleanup Day in September. And this is a look at Surfrider's leadership funnel. Basically how we try to get prospects from the general public, connect with them, turn them into supporters, you know, whether it's a Surfrider member, a volunteer, somebody helps spread the word online or to their family and friends. We really want to, you know, activate them into volunteers, members to take the next step. And then hopefully, you know, further on, they're going to join the executive committee, which is each chapter's leadership board, 5 to 7 people who help guide each Surfrider chapter. There are also subcommittees, you know, such as the ocean-friendly gardens, ocean-friendly restaurants, beach cleanups. So there are different types of leadership roles that you can take on. Right now, as I mentioned, is the full screen still showing for you?
We see your slides on the left there.
All right, cool. Well, I was just trying to get into my notes here. Thanks for letting me know. Right now we're in the Found Objects Photo Contest. Time to be as part of Coastal Cleanup Month. In addition to Surfrider solo cleanups, the California Coastal Commission, which runs the Coastal Cleanup Day for California, had it all solo cleanups this year, no big group cleanups. Every Saturday in September was Coastal Cleanup Day. Surfrider kind of piggybacked on that a little bit, and this is the 3rd year of the Found Objects Photo Contest, where we encourage people to make artwork out of what they are finding on the beach and cleaning up with their solo cleanups. So I'll pop a link into the chat for more info on that, and where you can see some of the past winners if you want some inspiration to do something this year. And that's going to run through October 14th. And we're also really excited that for the month of October, we've teamed up with our national partner, Love, Beauty, and Planet, to encourage small acts for clean shores. And that's basically just people going out, doing solo cleanups on the beach or in your local neighborhood, and then reporting what you're finding to our database. So we have financial incentives for all of the chapters to participate, help get the word out. And then we're trying to tally our collective impact throughout October. So I'll pop a link into the chat for more info on that. And we encourage people to participate, because really the more the merrier. And it just helps get momentum to help tackle plastic pollution and really help keep our healthy beaches out there. So it's really important to collect data so that we know what's out there, and that helps to drive policy change at the end of the day. If we have good data, we can help go for stronger plastic reduction policy initiatives, such as the local bag ban and styrofoam ban in Long Beach, and building on that and hopefully taking it statewide and beyond. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we have seen increased use of single-use plastics, whether it's masks with plastic included, more takeaways from restaurants. It's really not slowing down at any point soon. So the more we can raise awareness about it, collect some data, it'll help drive some policy change. So that's about all I had for now. Without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Kai Craig, who is a long-term volunteer with the Surfrider Foundation Long Beach chapter, who has done great things as part of the executive committee and leading the Ocean Friendly Gardens program. So Kai, feel free to take it away.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Thanks, Aaron. I'm going to share my screen now and see if everybody can see that. Let's let me start at the beginning here. Let's see. Sorry about that. Okay. So has everybody got that screen up?
Yeah, now it looks perfect.
Okay, and you're not seeing double video feeds, are you?
Nope, looks great.
Okay, so yeah, I'm here to talk about Ocean Friendly Gardens, and there's kind of two pieces here. The first half, I'll talk about what the program is, why it's important, how you can get your yard certified as ocean friendly, and we can pause and answer any questions if need be. Take a breather, and then I'll just give you some strategies, some examples that might help you as you create your ocean friendly garden. And the idea of it is that landscaping can prevent water pollution by applying these principles of CPR, conservation, permeability, and retention, and we'll get into those. But first, just taking a look at what a natural watershed looks like, or how it would function, which is what we want to try to approximate with our yards. So rainfall, the energy of it is dissipated by plants and trees. It soaks into the ground. The ground is spongy and absorbs water, and the water can percolate down to recharge our groundwater. It can seep out once it's been filtered through roots and acted upon by microorganisms into rivers and streams. That's the ideal situation. But this is what a lot of homes look like here in Long Beach and around the country. And you may notice there's a lot of impermeable surfaces, such as the roof. So water comes off your roof. It might go in a rain gutter and straight out the driveway. Even our lawns are not great at absorbing rainfall, especially if they're, if they have a lot of fertilizers. There's not a lot of life under the soil. And even when it's not raining, we have a lot of overspray, broken sprinklers, hosing down the driveway, what we call dry weather runoff or urban drool, and all that runoff picks up pollution and is flushed out into flushed down our streets. Most of the pollution is picked up in that first inch or two, the first flush, it's called, of rain. Just a typical street. What kind of pollution can you see? What might you not see? you know, you have oil and trash and plastic and that sort of thing. But, you know, as gardeners or homeowners, some of the worst things are fertilizers, herbicides, and pesticides, animal waste that are used in massive quantities in our residential markets or landscapes. And it all goes to storm drains. For some reason it's sticking here. Let's see if I can get to the next slide. Into the flood channels. We don't have a combined sewer storm drain system in Long Beach, so none of the dry weather runoff is treated, although there are plans for a treatment facility. And that affects surfers and recreationists on our beaches. We've all heard, you know, stay out of the water after the first day of rain or two or three. And but even from dry weather runoff, bacterial pollution can make people sick. And a lot of that is that pet waste, human waste, people living in the flood channels, that sort of thing. And just to go in a little more depth, any gardener knows that the health of your soil is important. But you know, all those organisms that live in your soil, the bacteria, the nematodes, they're actually very efficient at breaking down pollution as well. So the more we can allow soil to do the amazing job it can do of cleaning water, the better. So the idea is our properties are like a watershed. We conserve water, we conserve energy in maintaining our landscapes. We provide for wildlife habitat. Permeability, we want the soil to allow water to soak in, and retention, so that the longer we hold on to the water, the longer it's able to soak in and not rush out in that first flush and carry all that pollution with it. So this is what the OFG certification looks like. It's really simple. You can download this on the surfrider.org website, and you know, if you're in Long Beach, you can email me and we'll certify that. We're in the process. If you have the option to, you know, include it on a map so people can drive by and take a look at your garden. And you get this lovely sign so you can display your commitment to the ocean and that you're doing your part. And if you're doing a lawn to garden program, it's pretty similar in requirements. It's just, you know, there's a couple key differences. I won't go through everything, but the Surfrider certification, it has that biodiversity component where we like to see 10% be native plant material. We want it to be maintained without fertilizers and pesticides. No landscape fabric is used. That usually impedes the permeability. But we're applying those CPR principles. So does anybody have any questions at this point? Or did I gloss over anything that people think might need clarification for the people watching later?
This is great, Kai. I do have a quick question. You mentioned that fabric isn't good. What about using something like cardboard? Will that be like permeable over time? Is that maybe a better choice, or is that similar to the fabric?
That's a great idea. Yeah, cardboard is a lot of times is used, you know, to suppress weeds initially for pathways or to kill off the grass, and that's totally fine because it will decompose over time. What happens with the landscape fabric is it degrades into trash in the landscape, and it'll poke through and it'll become more debris and pollution essentially. And it always, the ground tends to compact underneath it. I've pulled up landscape fabric and found the ground hard as cement underneath it. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Great.
So,
Well, I have cardboard out front with some mulch on top, so I'm glad I did the right thing. Thank you.
yeah, works good. You just poke holes in the cardboard and put your plants in, right?
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so we're going to move into kind of the local Long Beach situation, and just to kind of relate those ideas to what we have here. The word is not lagoon, it's the Colorado Lagoon, and that's one of our beloved water bodies here, and you can see stormwater pollution impacts wildlife. There's wildlife there, and you can see a lot of algae here. That's something that, our fertilizers might cause algae blooms, and that can smother out other life and deprive aquatic life of oxygen as it decomposes. The Marine Stadium. We have a lot of enclosed water bodies in Long Beach, and most of the pollution that's binds to sediment, and it contaminates sediments in the harbors, the marinas, the ports, and the estuaries. And this is also where a lot of sea life breeds, and the larvae of the fish are, and they're the most impacted by the herbicides and the pesticides. This is Mother's Beach. A lot of kids play in the, in these near these water bodies. And then, of course, the San Pedro Bay. And this is a known hotspot for these harmful algae blooms, or dead zone, marine life die-offs, which can be fueled by the more soluble things like fertilizers go out into the harbor, and can cause these harmful algae blooms. There's algae that has a neurotoxin in it, and can just kill off sea life. So let's get into the fun strategies that we've used, and these are all gardens around Long Beach. So if you have a downspout, that makes it really easy to connect to a rain garden or a bioswale. So these are a couple little rain gardens, or a dry creek empties out into a larger area away from the home, where the water can pool for a day or two before it sinks into the ground. And this is kind of, can you guys see my mouse? Does that work?
I did before. Yeah, we see it.
Okay, so they're kind of lined up here. So this here is where the swale goes through here on the plan. And water kind of comes down off the roof down a rain chain and pops out through a pipe into a swale. So it's just kind of this long feature for the water to collect and plants to grow. So that's where it goes in under those rocks. And you can see the other side is all filled in with plants here, but there's a spot here you can see where, water's ponding and charging up the soil where plants can get at it later. So it becomes a source of water. The cheapest place, easiest place to store water is in the ground. Rain barrel might hold 50 gallons of water, but in an inch of rain on a 1,000 square foot roof, you're getting 800 gallons. So you need to hold that in a bigger area. And here's just some more like dry creeks that are filled up, kind of like the background behind me. Just after a rain. It's probably a couple of years ago. So if you don't have gutters, which a lot of homes around here don't, because it doesn't rain all that often, there's some other strategies you can use. So we have berms, basins, and walls. How cool is that? So you can see here, there's no gutter. All the water is just going to come off in a sheet off this roof, hit the mulch, and that's going to kind of diffuse the energy of it. But this area in the foreground is actually a hill. So, you know, the dirt that was excavated just a few inches for this pathway gets piled up as a berm. So all the water coming off is just going to hit that berm and pool here a little bit, sink in, and if it overflows, it can go out the driveway. But you don't actually get a lot of standing water. It's just very, under that DG, you could have like gravel or whatnot, like a road base type gravel and sand. And our nice OFG sign. I think that's a vintage one. So here's another one, same kind of idea. The pathways are retaining the runoff with, you know, kind of hilly areas around to hold it in. It's kind of what the design looks like. The berm keeps the water from just rushing off. And that's what that looks like. Here's another one. It's again the same principle. The house is at the bottom. You can have planters, foundation planters that filter the water. There's good designs for flow-through planters. And then those can drain out into your pathways. And all that water is still going to soak into the ground in the areas around it and be available to, you know, the trees, the grasses, and different plants. And you can plant right in the pathway as well. But it, you know, it allows you to get around and maintain things. Here's one that's rock walls. So this property had some slope to it. And the idea is just these little low walls would slow the runoff. So these arrows are showing the path of water. It's going to hit one wall and come down and hit the next one. And so that's going to keep everything from washing down the hill and let the water soak in. And this is all native plants here. And you'll see people just taking photos, like getting in the yard during the wildflower blooms and stuff. So quickly, just some other strategies. You know, like a backyard, you can sink the backyard a little bit. So you can see here that it's lower at this end. The water can pool down here. And it's kind of nice because it gives a little more privacy. And the same thing here, this is all concrete that was torn out of a backyard and terraced up to allow for a lower area. So this, instead of the water going into the house, there's now a lower area for the water to collect. Instead of like putting in, you know, an expensive drainage system, it's more something like a natural feature. And or a big basin. This is a multi-unit apartment in Los Alamitos, and you know, when you develop property nowadays, you have to capture that stormwater. You have to have a plan for that. And if you want to have a high density place, you need to have a way to store a lot of stormwater. So that's that. And again, you know, I'm kind of a big fan of putting, you know, people don't always go for a native look, but I'm a big fan of like turning that parkway or next to the driveway into a native flowering area. So, you know, imagine if everyone did that, we would have this connected corridor for pollinators and things, that habitat that's threatened. With the city, if you can get the public works to go along with it, you could do curb cuts.
You wish.
Maybe Aaron knows something about that. You know, permeable pavers, these have like a little bigger space so the water can sink in. You can cut gaps in the driveway so that you want to make large areas of concrete discontinuous. So at least you're slowing the runoff and you're giving it a place to sink in. This is an old driveway that's broken up, stained, and decomposed granite put in the gaps. So it's permeable and it's kind of different. Here's my kind of sign off saying, you know, you can do a lot of different things with these concepts. Like not every OFG has to look the same. You can really creatively do a lot with those ideas. This is someone who turned their dry creek into a fountain. And you want to contact me, I'm at ofg@longbeach.surfrider.org. And there's our Ocean Friendly Garden page. If you go to the Long Beach, or sorry, go to the Surfrider central page, and there's a lot of information on how to set up your ocean friendly garden.
Those were beautiful, Kai. I think you designed most of those, didn't you? I saw your name on a good many of them. They're really impressive. I really, really like them.
Thanks, Melinda. Yeah, those are all kind of my projects around town, and the idea is to get those on the map. Those would be the kind of the first, or some of our first OFG certified projects in Long Beach, and hopefully we can get more going.
Kai, what is the difference between a berm and a hugelkultur?
Oh, the hugelkultur.
Yeah.
Hugelkultur, and I know maybe you've seen Studio Petrichor.
Yes.
There's a guy around, Sean Maestretti,
Yeah.
and he's holding workshops. I'd really like to go to one soon. But hugelkultur, you're burying logs.
Okay.
So you're actually adding to the mass of the berm, and you're able to kind of create, kickstart the biology somehow, and that. I think
But
that
do they function the same, or they have different functions? I know the hugelkultur will collect water.
right, they do, and I think you could, you know, configure them so that you are capturing water and retaining it, but you know, doesn't necessarily have to. It's just another technique for making a more self-sustaining kind of garden that's definitely a good conservation technique.
And the berm is just all dirt, all soil,
Yeah.
all.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's you know, it's kind of about moving the soil, contouring your property with what's there, so you can kind of create some low spots and some high spots.
Got it.
In a way that is kind of you know, perpendicular to the flow of water, so that you're gonna stop it,
Okay.
slow it down. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good question.
So Kai, this is Emiko. So thank you for the great presentation. I loved all the pictures. So how can I get my garden certified for the OFG?
So if we so right now you have to download that application off of the headquarters site, but let's go ahead and we'll put it up on our page here, the LB Surfrider program / Ocean Friendly Garden, and then you could just email it to that email address there, and then then we can, you know, kind of follow up and make sure it checks all the boxes. Maybe someone will do a little site visit, and we can certify certify you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Is there any like fee or anything?
Right now, I think it's like $12 or $15 for the sign, but I think we have a little bit of budget. So the first, group of people, I think we'll be able to waive that fee. So I would encourage people to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then I have another question. So these gardens, they look great when you're like just got it done.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks great for maybe like first, second year, but then if you know, plant the native plants, they do really well without any water at all. So they grow like crazy when they mature.
So
right?
your issue is like, how do you keep it from getting too overgrown?
Yeah, because a lot of my plants are like really taking over, and like, you know, it's like a jungle in front of my house.
Yeah. I mean, with native plants, you do have to be careful because they tend to come in little teeny pots, and then they can get really large, a lot of them.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you don't want to have like years of empty space, So one good strategy, when you draw out your plan, is like, look at the eventual size of that plant. So don't plant two like really long-lived bushes like next to each other that are going to be competing in the future, because they don't like to be trimmed a lot. And you don't want to be out there trimming them all the time. But what you can do is plant, kind of use the wildflowers or something more short-lived, like in between, to fill in those spaces until your plants kind of grow in. So it's kind of like that succession of nature model. But maintenance is key. Maintenance is definitely key.
Yeah, keeping up with it is real work.
Yeah, sometimes you can go in and edit and take out things that are no longer working for you.
Yeah.
But, and also like these are good jobs. We want to have like gardeners be not just mow and blow, drive around, and have to visit your home like once a week, use a bunch of gas powered stuff, and keep going. That's the conservation part, right? Like these gardens, maybe they come once a month and they spend a little longer, and it's more like hand trimming, and it's a little more knowledge intensive, little less labor intensive, and those are better jobs, right? So if we can kind of change the way we do things, it'll be a good thing.
Yeah.
So hire somebody.
Kai, I think a lot of times, maybe the homeowner can do some of the maintenance once it's set up, since it is, rather limited. But maybe what, other than, if somebody is going to go from a lawn to an ocean-friendly garden, it's obviously best to hire a professional to help with the process. If they're not quite there yet, what are maybe some smaller things that homeowners could do on their own to be more ocean friendly with their gardens? Maybe not fully certified, but start maybe taking some initial steps.
That's really a good question. I'm glad you asked that, because if you're not ready to tear out your lawn, which is a pretty big undertaking, like there's ways to manage it, because I think people may just like throw fertilizer because they think they have to, or they may just be using herbicides because they don't like seeing like certain other weeds grow up. So I think it's just something to be conscious of, not doing that before rain if you're going to do it, and just kind of if you can manage your lawn organically, using, there's a lot of interesting products out there that are like organic liquid fertilizers or just compost, or maybe it's like tolerating clover in your yard because like clover fixes nitrogen, and everyone used to have clover in their yards before Miracle Grow came along or whatever. But now we think, it's got to be perfect monoculture, kill it, and that sort of thing. So, but yeah, definitely like managing it organically would be the best thing. Although, that can be overdone too. So it's just kind of doing the application in the correct amounts and when it's needed. Be one suggestion.
I love it. Another quick question. Do you have any suggestions for condo owners or maybe people with HOAs on how to, help, change on that level?
Yeah, I'm working with one now, an HOA, and, like if there's somebody who's, active in their HOA, and they, I would suggest they get on their landscape committee. Usually a HOA has a landscape committee, and they can get on there, and I'd be happy to come talk to those, or just view a presentation like this and educate the other members about biodiversity and stormwater and conservation, and that would be a good way to kind of, and then you can kind of start getting into how much do we spend on water and maintenance every month, and like this could actually, HOAs are great because they could make that investment potentially and be okay with it paying itself off over a longer term, so yeah, the impact would be much greater as well. So like I think the one I'm working on is like, it's over 5,000 square feet of lawn, and there's just a lot of lawn area that's not really used for anything, so it makes sense.
Great.
Yeah.
And Aaron, quick question for you. Kai mentioned curb cuts in his presentation. Do you possibly know if those are allowed by the city, and if it's like a low cost permit or anything along those lines?
I don't actually know any details related to that, but I could inquire and see. Yeah, I'm not sure. If it helps with some of the stormwater management concerns, I would think that it might be something the city is able to do or allow, but I don't know anything about the process of it. Kai, you could be more familiar if you've tried to do it so far and have or have not been successful.
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I've used the parkway to kind of be a last stage of treatment before it goes out to the street, but not like actually capture water off the street. But I do see the city is doing that in like, parking lots and places. So I think they're probably thinking about it where they can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions for Kai?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. That was like a perfect Ocean Friendly Gardens presentation, and then adding the local stuff in there, really topped it off. Thank you very much, Kai.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, that's good.
Glad you can make it. So usually at this point we're drinking beers at the beer
There you go. It's about time to crack one open. So yeah, Jeff got the idea there. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a couple extra minutes here. If anybody has anything they'd like to ask about Surfrider in general, or any local things they'd like to share, feel free to unmute yourself and speak up.
I talk about surfing.
Shoot.
So here in Long Beach at the Coastal Commission on Thursday, they're dealing with CSIP. That's the whole southeast area of Long Beach. It used to be called CDIP. It's the Los Cerritos wetlands. It's Marine Stadium. It goes from Seal Beach Boulevard all the way up to 7th, and from Studebaker, that area, all the way over to Marine Stadium. And if you read the staff report, starting on a page 26, the coastal staff has 16 modifications that they want to make. And a lot of CSIP was put together by the city in 2017. And then it's just sort of been just simmering, and nothing really has changed. And so coastal staff is looking at this really closely and asking them to bring it more up to date in line with sea level rise and all of those kind of things. So I was reading the staff report today, starting about page 26 of the staff report for about 5 pages. They have really interesting discussions of what they think the city should be doing, and perhaps hasn't caught up with climate change and different kind of things that they need to be doing. So it's going to be very, very interesting, I think, on Thursday. It's item 11A, I think so. I don't know if it'll be in the afternoon. And I don't know if you have time for it, but it's fascinating to watch the Coastal Commission in action. There's a very energetic group of commissioners right now, and they're really dealing with a lot of important issues. So just wanted to mention that.
That's great. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Bill.
I find this really interesting. I don't live in the coast. I actually live in Altadena, right at the base of the San Gabriel Mountains.
Oh, wow.
I understand the connection. I understand the connection with all the water that comes out from the mountains. Eventually will get out to the ocean, and there are houses in between, and my house is in between. So this was really helpful for me to see even more so how a landscape can pool the water. In the pictures that you were showing, Kai, was fascinating to me. I have rain barrels, and I have native plants, and I have places where water will accumulate, and I don't lose water down my driveway, yes, but I'm on an angle, and so I'm having to figure out how to deal with the angle of my driveway being too much. But I know about the curb cutting. I live in LA County. We don't even have a city. We're not a city. We're an unincorporated area, and I believe that they're working through the curb cut and trying to get more of that water into the parkway. And then there's a lot of parkway tree planting going on in my area. But what is it that the Surfriders would want us mountain people, I'll call us mountain people, and we're not quite, but to know and make connections with the water that's coming from their yard through the system down into the ocean? So my question is, what do you want us to know?
I think everything we talked about just applies directly to you as well, you know, because we're on the receiving end, you know, down here. So
our gift to you.
Yeah, it's gonna pick up the same stuff. So are you, so you said you already kind of do a lot of that.
Not to the extent, the picture behind you, your backdrop picture, nothing that dramatic where water is actually sitting in a depressed area in the ground. So, but I do have areas where water can seep into the ground. I don't have any grass anymore.
Yeah.
Right or back.
Yeah, and the other thing is, you know, like soils are different in different places too. So you want to make sure it's going to go away in a couple days, so you don't end up with a mosquito situation.
Right.
But no, that's great. Thinking of that and thinking of us.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I can be a vehicle in expressing to my neighbors or to the group. I'm actually a facilitator for, my focus is clean air, but my group and the groups that I belong to, like Altadena Heritage, which actually does a lot of connecting with nature and trees and the urban heat island effect and all of that. I lost my train of thought, but I need my drink. I guess it's trying to find a way to make that connection with people that I talk to and work with.
Well, being in LA, you might be able to go through the LA chapter of Surfrider as well. If not, I'm sure we could certify you, but I think like that'd be a pretty good conversation starter if you had an ocean friendly garden sign and people are like, well, we're nowhere near the ocean. But, and then
we are.
explain it to them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm biased. So.
No, I think to Kai's point and to kind of Joy, what you're reiterating, I mean, Long Beach is pretty unique because we're the downstream of LA, right? We're downstream of the San Gabriel and the LA River. So everything that happens upstreams comes to us. So
yes.
Whatever we do at the upstream end to reduce pollution, reduce litter, we could send you photos of what the beach looks like after it rains down here. It's not a great experience. So I think having allies and advocates in kind of along the entire watershed is just really important for the overall health of our water system.
Yeah, great.
Kai, to your point around seeing if there's a way to work with you to see if you get certified. It's a small group of people making small changes that lead to those larger conversations.
You said the watershed, so that might be a way to start, is to understand the watershed and how that functions for people that are upstream.
Yeah, looking kind of at a map and seeing. I'm not the storm. I wouldn't consider myself a stormwater or a watershed expert. There could be some other folks on this call who are more expertise in that area, but just at a high level, looking at where everything is connected and how it kind of all goes downstream to eventually pretty much to us for the most part.
Thank you. Sorry for all the rambling, but I tend to ramble. Get my thoughts out.
All good, no sweat.
Okay.
Cool, we're about an hour, so unless anybody has any last comments, we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
That was really great. I learned a lot, Kai. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Awesome.
Really useful.
Yeah, thanks, Kai. I really appreciate that. I'll get the recording up on YouTube at some point in the next few days and send you guys a link so we can share it outside this group.
Cool.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining, everybody. Nice to see you. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.